So in Anaheim, we want to induct you into our Hall of Fame.
So, oh my God. Okay, I didn't think that's what we were going to talk about. Okay.
Welcome back to the Podcast Movement Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Joel Sharpton, and today it's time to talk about the Hall of Fame. Podcast Movement is amazing for lots of reasons. The sessions, the networking, the parties, the vendor deals, the online community. But one of my favorite things about Podcast Movement is the way it's given us as a community and industry an award show and a Hall of Fame. There have been and remain many podcast awards, just like there are for movies, television, theater, and radio. But there was no central location or in-person event that gave podcasters that night of celebration that we all get to enjoy with Hollywood for the Oscars. But now, there is. After years of iteration and fairly explosive growth for Podcast Movement, the award show that opens the festivities the night before the conference officially kicks off has become an event to attend in its own right. And why not? If anyone understands that podcasting is a medium capable of inspiration, education, and empowerment, it's us, right? So, on Wednesday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. local time, the podcasters are going Hollywood too. Well, Anaheim, anyway, for the Academy of Podcasters Awards presented by Wondery. Podcasts will be recognized in categories from the arts to news and politics, from TV and film to technology, games and hobbies to history and everything in between. But the highlight for me is always the Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame induction. Past inductees include the Podfather, Adam Curry, Todd Cochran, Danny Pena, Leo Laporte, Rob Walsh, and Mignon Fogarty. It's a big honor. To be nominated requires at least 10 years involved in the podcast industry and significant contributions to the community. In this episode, we're going to meet the inductees for the 2017 Hall of Fame class and hear Gary Leland, a Hall of Famer himself, class of 2016, get to share the news with them directly. But first, it's time to remind you that the best way to attend the Academy of Podcasters Awards is by attending Podcast Movement 2017 in Anaheim, California. Visit podcastmovement.com today and register to get the best prices available. Even on a budget, you can secure your spot now with easy payment plan options. While you're there, make sure and book a room at the host hotel, the Anaheim Marriott, with a special discount for conference attendees, but you've got to hurry because they will fill up fast. All right, now, back to that phone call.
So in Anaheim, we want to induct you into our Hall of Fame.
So, oh my God. Okay, I didn't think that's what we were going to talk about. Okay. Gary, are you serious?
Yes, you were one of the top finalists into the Hall of Fame, and this was done by a group of your peers voting for you. Voted you as one of the 5 people going into the Hall of Fame this year. So
and I'm actually going in. This isn't like the nomination phase.
No. This is over.
You're telling me this.
It's all done and over with.
Holy cow, Gary! I won't be able to put this exactly into the words I hope to, but you have no idea how honored I am to get this phone call. Holy shit.
It's the thing about it to me is the fact that it's not a contest.
Right.
Which is how we set it up to begin with.
Yeah.
This isn't like everybody voting over and over and over. You get 10 votes a day or whatever. This is your peers basically said he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for what he's done, which I agree completely. And as one of the voting members, I agree completely with them.
Gary, I'm really I'm trying to keep my emotions in check, frankly, because wow, this is fantastic. I'm so glad it was you that told me. I got to tell you, because you're one of those people that I always have associated with the very beginning, and
that's the way I think of you.
Be the person to make this call is just it's just amazing. Thank you, Gary. Holy crap. Oh, and by the way, Gary, you look like $1 million.
Oh, thank you very much. That 150-pound weight loss will do that to you.
Is it really that much?
Well, it's over 6 years. Yeah.
But if that's over 50 years, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was a long process. I leveled out at 295 and then went on another binge and went down a little. And this last one got me, I got 8 pounds to go now to meet my goal. I also want to let you know, Dan, I recorded this and we'll clean it up, but we want to use some of this audio when we announce it, if that's okay.
No, it's not. You should have mentioned that up front. It's not okay.
Okay, then we won't use it. That's fine with me.
Although,
you know me. I'm not like trying to get anyone. We were hoping to get surprise moments to use.
Well, listen, because I thought there was the slightest possibility, I did say those nice things about you. Which, I mean, if you want to know my real feelings, well, I don't care. But no, I'm kidding. Of course, use whatever you want.
That's Dan Klass, the host of The Bitterest Pill, which he's been putting out since 2004. He's a podcast instructor at UCLA and the co-author of Podcast Solutions, the complete guide to audio-video podcasting. A producer and consultant for big brands through his company Jacket Media, he was a little surprised to get a call from Gary. Gary Leland is the happy guy making these phone calls, by the way. We've mentioned Gary before here. He's one of the founders of Podcast Movement with Dan Franks, Jared Easley, and Mitch Todd. And the reason why the first couple of years started in the DFW area, as Gary had already run a successful PodCamp Dallas there before PM's inception. Gary's area is softball. And if there's a podcast about softball, it's entirely likely that Gary is in some way involved with it. He's also one of the old schoolers, people who were involved in the podcast community before there was much community at all.
You know, I never care. I don't hide anything. You know what I mean?
That's
so yeah,
I am. Everything's online. My wife always goes, "I can't believe you put that online." You know, Dan, I want to tell you something that I've never told you.
Oh, shit.
But in 2004, maybe early 2005, you know, when we all were getting started and you and I were talking online, you were probably the first person that I kind of considered a friend
Really?
that I never met before.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because back then that was kind of new to me. Knowing I'd been on the net a long time, but I really hadn't been socializing with people. I'd just been working, building stuff. Yeah. And it was kind of like, you were the first person who I could kind of say to myself, oh yeah, I got a friend out in California who I've never met. That's nothing. I mean, that's so common now, but at the time it was so
completely.
Yeah, it seemed so odd at the time.
Yeah, but that's, and I'm so glad though that you're cognizant of that, because obviously each year we get further from that moment, right? And people are going to, if they haven't already, very quickly forget how new that was. I just always feel like podcasting, obviously in and of itself, is a wonderful thing. But I feel like podcasting also really pushed a lot of things forward very quickly, not directly related with podcasting, but that we now take it completely for granted. And that's one of them, is how many hundreds of people became legitimate, feel like legitimate friends that had never met before, like the expo or whatever.
Right.
That just didn't happen at all.
One of the things you may have noticed about that early podcast community is that it was full of dudes. Technology was the primary barrier for the first half-decade of podcasting, and so people who were in tech and media industries, both traditionally dominated by men in the U.S., were the first aboard, generally speaking. But that doesn't mean that ladies weren't amongst the podcast pioneers. The Hall of Fame already features 3 women as individual inductees, and 2 more join their ranks this year.
Are you there?
I'm right here. Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I was the person that told you this, because I thought that you'd want to know this was happening.
Okay.
And you're one of the 5 going into the 2017 Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame, and I wanted to be the person to let you know. Yeah.
Oh my God! No way! What?
That's the best part of my job with Academy, is calling people, and so.
Oh my gosh! Oh my God! Thank God! I thought something was totally wrong with you. I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with Gary?
I was trying.
Does he have some kind of disease? I was like, oh my God, you scared me. And I'm happy, but you scared me. I'm like, oh no, what do we have to do? What's happening?
That's Elsie Escobar, who's worried about Gary's health there. Elsie is one of those pioneers I was talking about earlier. Currently, she's the community manager for Libsyn, the largest dedicated podcast media host in the world, and the founder of Podcasting School for Women. She's also the co-host of She Podcasts, which has started an entire community of female podcasters to ensure that the next generation of shows is actually representative of the listening audience.
Well, nothing's wrong with me. Everything's right with you. Like I said, I just wanted to let you know. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. That's amazing. I don't know what to say. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. That's.
Well, I'm just glad that you're alive. I seriously was like, oh my God, what is wrong with Gary? Like my stomach dropped all the way down to my belly. I was like,
well, I guess I better not use that approach again.
No, I was so scared.
But I didn't want you to have any idea why I was calling. Because I don't call you very often, so you kind of.
No, you don't.
I figured you'd know something was up. I think you're only the.
Oh wow! Okay.
Are you the? You're the third. There aren't a lot of females in it. You're only the third one, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
It was Mer. Well, no, fourth. I think Mer, and then
Dawn,
Grammar Girl, Mignon, and then.
Oh yeah, Mer. Yeah, how could I forget Mer? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Dawn and Drew. So Dawn.
So it's a pretty good group to be included with.
I know. Wow. I'm sort of what? Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
You got to come up with a 7-minute acceptance speech now.
Oh, great. All right, fine.
But you only have till August.
Yeah, exactly. To come up with 7 minutes, I hope that helps me out.
7 minutes is a lot more than you'll get on the Oscars or Tonys, by the way. But then again, we're the medium of the 3-hour Joe Rogan show and the 6-hour Hardcore History episode. Speaking of hardcore, Dan Carlin, the creator and host of Hardcore History and Common Sense, is just one of the keynote speakers at this year's Podcast Movement. You can view the full schedule, and I do mean full, as this is the most speakers and sessions we've ever had at Podcast Movement. So you don't want to miss out. Podcastmovement.com for details on the full schedule and how you can register today.
Hello, this is Rob.
Hey, Rob. Gary here.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing, dude?
What's up? Good. What's up?
What's going on at NAB?
I was just, doing our thing, going, speaking on panels and trying to raise some awareness for the podcasting space.
That's Rob Greenlee talking to Gary there. Rob is the head of podcast content at Spreaker and Adore Podcast Network. Rob was formerly with Podcast One as EVP and their CTO, and for 6 years was the business manager and content manager for podcasts at Microsoft Zune, Xbox, and Windows Phone. Rob currently hosts the Spreaker Live Show podcast and co-hosts the New Media Show with Todd Cochran, also a Hall of Famer. He is also the former lead host of Web Talk World Radio Show, recognized as the first nationally syndicated radio program in the world to begin podcasting on September 15th, 2004. And guess what Rob is about to find out?
Both Rob Walsh and Todd are down here with me, and so we're doing 2 podcasting panels tomorrow, so it's good.
Well, that's,
it's all good.
Well, that's really kind of weird that you three are there. Because, Todd and Rob are both in the Podcast Hall of Fame, and now you are too.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, you will be inducted into the Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame in Anaheim. I wanted to be this is the best part about being affiliated with Podcast Movement, is calling old friends and telling them this news.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for that news.
Oh, it's
a great honor, definitely.
Yeah, right now, when I call people, I know everybody.
Yeah, well, I would imagine because they had to have been podcasting for more than 10 years, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a point, though, where I can see the day comes that I'm going to call to 5 or 6 people and not know any of them.
Yeah, it'll be probably a few more years before that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, crazy. We're going to NAB and doing a 4-day live stream, so we're getting ready to head out of town.
So you are busy.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but all good. How are you?
Good, doing really good. I appreciate you. Like I said, I know you're busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Gloria Petrucci is a pioneer in the podcasting and live streaming world, known for a lot of her shows like GeekBeat.tv and GeekBrief.tv, and known to many as Callie Lewis, her former pseudonym. She's been in this space since 2005, building a social following over 2 million folks, and worked with brands like Samsung, AT&T, Verizon, BBC Click, and many, many more. You can find her at geekslife.com or, as Gary did, at a media conference.
I remember when I saw you at South...
Social media marketing.
Yeah, thank you. Social media.
That's the one.
I was going to say South by Southwest. That was coming out of my mouth, even though I didn't mean that. But you were saying that you had failed to get registered speaking, and you were thinking you might want to come to Podcast Movement. And I wanted to let you know, if you want to come, it's no problem because of the fact that we really need you there because you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
And,
what?
yeah, and it's not like you're being nominated. The whole process has gone through, and your peers, the Academy, voted you into the Hall of Fame.
Well, that is so awesome and very sweet, and I'm very honored. I've never been in a Hall of Fame before.
Yeah, I had not either till I got in, so it's pretty cool. Then also, as part of the deal, you get free passes for life, to Podcast Movement. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So, and you'll be in the third class of Hall of Famers to go there. So, but don't tell anyone this until next week.
Abby the Chihuahua did not just hear that.
Yeah.
That's right, folks. Hall of Famers get PM tickets for life. So this isn't just about the prestige. And you don't have to keep any of this a secret. Share the podcast, the Facebook group, the Podcast Movement website with friends that want to be where the podcast community is headed. Anaheim, this August. And remember, answer your phone. It might be Gary Leland calling.
Hey, Gary, how you doing, man?
Fine, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Well, I wanted to give you a call real quick. I appreciate you taking the time to
Of
talk
course.
to me. This was kind of important. I wanted to tell you in person.
Yeah.
Being involved with Podcast Movement has really been quite fun and quite interesting over the last years. But the best part about Podcast Movement is when I call people like you and tell them we're putting them in the Podcast Movement, the Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame.
Holy crap, really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
That's Brian Ibbett, the host of Coverville, with new episodes every Wednesday since 2004. Coverville is a show that focuses on cover songs, and believe it or not, Brian is threatening to have someone cover his acceptance speech this year. Coverville has won numerous awards over the years, is nominated this year as a finalist for Best Music Podcast, and is also just really cool. Kind of like Brian.
Holy crap, so I got to give a speech and everything.
7 minutes.
7 whole minutes. I can't talk for 7 minutes, Gary. Yeah, I can.
Oh, you can just say thank you if that's the best you can do.
No, I could definitely do more. Oh my God, that's so cool. Well, it looks like I'm going to Anaheim in a few months, huh? When is it?
It's Wednesday, August 23rd, 7 p.m., the Anaheim Marriott in Anaheim, California. And stick around after that for the best podcast conference in the world, Podcast Movement, with over 2,000 podcasters from around the globe. Get tickets now at podcastmovement.com.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
Awesome. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Dude, thank you so much. This is so cool. You got to thank the Academy. Well, I guess I'll thank the Academy when the time comes. That's kind of the point of the...
It is.
This is a real deal. This is honored by your peers, not just people programmed to go to a website every day and click a button.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and you were... when he realized it, came up with this idea many years ago. I mean,
right in the Academy, I know.
In Ontario.
Kind of funny, yeah.
And when I came up with it again later, I said, we should start, as the podcasting's been around about 10 years, we don't start a Hall of Fame, someone's gonna.
Right.
And then I remembered that conversation, and I contacted you and said, hey, do you have those notes from, forever ago?
Right.
And you did,
Which is part of the hoarder in me, man. I never get rid of anything.
Well, that was very nice. We took your notes, and then we went to a couple other things that were going on and saw how they did it, and we tried to follow those. But like I said, we wanted to make it was something that was meaning, not voted in, so that it actually meant something, which I think we're on the process of doing. And from now on, you'll also be on the voting panel for future Hall of Famers. You'll get an email from me. But this is the best part of my whole thing with Podcast Movement.
I'm sure it is. It's got to feel almost as good for you as it does for me.
And right now,
it's all the old guard. Yeah, no kidding.
Also, I've been taping this.
Oh, cool.
Because we wanted to use some bits out of this, so it's okay if we use some bits out
Absolutely.
of this
Be my guest. I don't think I've said anything bad about anybody yet, except for Dan Class. Well, that's all right. Yeah, everybody knows how I feel about Dan Class.
But yeah, he was the first one to call. He about had a heart attack.
I'll bet he did. Oh, that's so cool. He deserves it too, man. He's so awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Well, I'm going to let you go because I know you've taken a break between recording and editing to slip me in here.
Right. Oh, well, no problem. And I'll keep it under my hat. Ha!
That's another episode of the Podcast Movement Sessions Season 2 in the books. Next episode will feature some of the new voices coming to Podcast Movement 2017. My thanks for this episode to Dan Franks, Gary Leland, Brian Ibbett, Luria Petruccia, Rob Greenlee, Elsie Escobar, and forget Dan Class. You know what you did. I'm just messing around. All right, get to podcastmovement.com and get to Anaheim. See ya.